Well, I want to thank, first of all, EUFIC for inviting me to come here. Now I have the temptation, and it always happens, I don't know why we, the journalists, are always the last ones to speak, so I would rather skip my slides and start answering the things that have been posted by my colleagues, but I'll try to stick to my presentation, and then we'll have time for the questions. The first thing is, what are the challenges for when we have to write something to inform about health and nutrition? I come from that 1% that Marianne said, the right things that people believe. So only 1% of the people believe me. The other 9% of you here don't believe me, so just feel free to complain afterwards. And the first thing I think is the most important one is that, believe it or not, we all eat. And that makes a very important thing for how the information is managed. We're not talking about something that people don't know or that they are not used to it. And Marianne said something that is that we look for what we believe in. And if you buy a newspaper every morning and you feel yourself that you're in the right wing of the politics in Spain, you will write a certain kind of newspaper. If you're in the left wing, you'll try to buy that one. Or if you are watching the TV, you know what are the channels that will give the information that you most agree with that. So, and it happens inside a newspaper. No? When I come to my bosses with a story about these things, one of the things that matters is, first of all, that I have to believe it. Second is that I have to think that my boss believes it. Imagine if my boss was a vegan. Obviously, all the information related with the risks of eating meat or the benefits of eating only fruit would be more positively thought about than if she wasn't. She isn't, in fact. But just to give you an example, no? And it happens too with the people who read us, or who read me, or who read the newspapers. I mean, they look for the information that confirm what they think that they have to do. So that's I think that's the main thing, the main challenge when you have to inform about nutrition, is that you talk to people who already think that they know what they are doing, and that's the most difficult thing. And related to this, it's not just about getting more or less calories or nutrients or carbohydrates or vitamins or things. No, there is a cultural aspect. And if you remember this, the lasting form of the FAO, of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, pointing the thing that perhaps we should eat more insects. For European people, that seems something so awkward that it made a great debate. Well, we eat snails and we eat shrimps. That shrimps are cousins of grasshoppers, but we are not prepared to do the change. No? So cultural aspects are very important for us. And there are two other things that are very important. Food is business, and many of you probably come from food companies. And it gives a bias to all what happens and what the information we receive and how we deal with it. Usually in newspapers, well, things have changed so much in the last 4 or 5 years. Usually when something came related to business, we usually looked at it as suspicious. So if the information came from a company, from an industry, we'll try to avoid it. Now, sometimes we have to attend that information because if it comes with very interesting advertising commitment or something like that, because we need the money to survive. It is like that. And food is fashion, so now things like vegetarians, vegans, all those things probably have more space in our newspapers than what they should, because there are groups of people that are living in that way and that follow that fashion, so drinking how many liters of water or whatever, or not eating, or eating meat or not eating meat, or eating organic or not eating organic, those kind of things. We have to, so all those things come when we have to do it. Having said that, what is it if we were in an ideal world, what would make us write about something? Well, the best thing and the safest thing to do is when you write about an investigation that is independent and has been published in a peer-reviewed magazine. You know, something that comes from Nature or from Science or from any of these magazines. That's why perhaps in Mary's presentations there were so many articles about supplements, because supplements, not in the sense of what they sell in these shops with these big bags of things, of proteins or minerals for bodybuilders, but supplements in the sense of calcium, magnesium, they seem so neutral that it's very easy to write about them. I mean, you're not getting into any problem. And those things are very easily covered. Next thing, what we eat more often, or what we never eat, those kind of striking stories. I mean, what are the trends, or what is surprising? I mean, and I want to mention, I know in this very moment they're having a session on PREDIMED. This is a study on prevention with Mediterranean diet. We had a great argument in my newspaper because the conclusions were so obvious, so good, that we gave it a very little space. It was a huge work, working for 10 years, following 7,000 people, what they ate, how was their health, and so on. But the conclusion was Mediterranean diet is good. So what a headline would that make? Positive headlines don't work. I mean, imagine if you buy the International Herald Tribune today, and the headline one was, Switzerland hasn't attacked anyone today. The headlines usually are negative, or the exchange market goes well, and, well, of course, the Barcelona won, but they always win, so if you follow football, and in culture, I don't know, I mean, the great success of the last record of the Rolling Stones, well, they're so obvious that you would probably pass by saying how boring it is. So these kind of things happen in newspapers, and I'm surprised about the results of so many positive things being reported, because usually what we look after about the negative things. I mean, so just to make a thing. And the second thing is, when do we write? Well, we write when we reach the information, when it gets to us. You've mentioned press releases before. Which is the best press releases? I always say, and I'm never going to put it on a slide, so it cannot be copied or mentioned, is the best press release is the one that can be published directly. If you only have to do a copy-paste, that's the best press release for us. Think that usually in the newspaper or in any other media, but I've only worked in newspapers, so I can only talk about that. As I have a small joke with my colleagues that we are too lazy and too silly. So when a press release is well done and it gives all the information, the only thing we have to do is Control-C, Control-V. It's perfect for us. So those are the good press releases. When you have a press release that you have to start reading it again and again and asking the author and trying to find out more things about it, it gives too much job. Some of you, or most of you, I guess that I understand that you come from the scientific field where you can spend months writing an article, then you send it to the magazine, they give it back to you with the corrections, then you give it to a colleague to review it, and you spend 6 months to write something. We do it in 20 minutes if we want to publish it in our web. So if we have to do all those things, I mean, the best thing is I have the press release. Just change the signature. Instead of the university or wherever, I put El País, and that's it. That's a good thing. Many times we cannot do that, and we have to go to the scientific magazines or scientific papers. They are, for us, are the best things because they have all this work of the revision has already been done by experts. So, I mean, well, even Nature Science had this flaw with the Korean man who pretended he had cloned human embryos and things like that, and sometimes these articles fall down and you have to change them, but most of the times, I mean, they are seriously focused, and all the pros and cons of the articles are set, so you can just use it and follow it. The problem many times is that they are very difficult to understand for most of us who are not specialists. But well, that's another thing. Now we have to go to webs and all this kind of on the social media. Social media is a very edgy thing. I mean, I'm too old already to be really involved in social media. I have my Twitter and all those things. And I don't really believe in what they call the people journalism. Everyone writing about everything because he's there and he has the tools. Well done. I say I don't read them. I don't follow blogs, most of them, or anything like that. I mean, I like even when I get into internet, I like to see a good headline saying this is Science magazine, or it is Nature, or it is the New England Journal of Medicine, or it is the Times, or it is the Guardian, or it is Le Monde. If it is Peter Smith from Washington writing on his blog about blah, blah, well, I just skip that information. But many people don't, and that's something that we have to deal with. And there is the last thing that are press conferences, and I have a question mark there. For years, you have abused of press conference. I have that feeling. And a press conference is a very difficult thing to prepare. And it's very difficult to attend an interesting press conference. Most of them are bullshit. Most of them are just blah, 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 saying, yes, I mean, they spend half of the time congratulating the other people on the table, you know. Thank you very much. I have to congratulate Professor blah, blah, because of his work was so great. Oh, well, thank you. Your work was even better than mine. Things like that. All those things that happen in press conferences, it's hard to do that. And more now, when we are less and less in the media, the crisis is there. 5 years ago, we were 4 of us working in the health section of my newspaper. Now it's only myself. So if I have to attend a press conference, I really want to go to a press conference that is well prepared, where they give me the information that I need, with all the material I need, all those things. So if you are going to use a press conference, be sure that you prepare it. I know that most of you in the universities and in your industries, you have a wonderful press teams that you never follow, because you insist as a scientist to review the press note and the press release, and that's how we get these ununderstandable press releases, completely impossible to translate to the language we have to use. There is one of the lessons the first lesson that they give you at a journalism school is write or tell things as if you were telling them to the owner of the grocery around the corner. And some of you refuse doing that, and I'm going to this now. This is the role of scientists in all this information. Well, you are the origin of all the information. Scientists are the real origin of the information that we want to deal with. But we have a problem with them. They're not used to deal with journalists, and they don't like to do it, and I understand that. Many times you'll find out that after you've been talking to a journalist for 20 minutes, what you see written, or if you take what they put on the TV or the radio, is so sure that it will never give all that background and all that other information they were trying to pass by. Sorry, it's how things work. But you have to get used to that. We have lots of problems with working with scientists. First of all, with the timing. It is not something that we can have. Is if I call you to have your opinion about something, you cannot answer me. Well, call me tomorrow. I'll tell you. Let me have time to read the article, discuss it with my colleagues, and then I go back with an opinion. No. I need it now, and I need it in the next 10 minutes, because I have to close my edition. I have to put the article on the web, and I need a very short thing, clear. And that's something that you are not used to do that. Sorry, but we have to do something about that. Sometimes you refuse to change your language. It is not the same writing for science or for nature than writing for El País or for El Mundo or for the Guardian. It is not the same. I was telling, I remember 2 weeks ago, we received a very interesting press note from a university in Barcelona about a very important discovery and something having to do with diabetes. And my colleague there, she's now starting to do science and health information, was completely unable to understand it. So I told her, well, go to the doctor and ask him, please, have you an example? Can you put a metaphor about it? And the answer was no. The process is what it is. I don't know what's happened. The process is what it is, and there are no metaphors to explain that. Well, then tell him, I'm not going to publish it. That's it. You have to get used to your language be translated some way. And you have to, and as I mentioned about the press notes, it happens the same with this thing. If you translate it yourself, it would be easier for us to use it, and both of us will be happy with the results. If you don't translate it and you leave that work to me, it's very possible that I'm going to translate it in a way that you don't like it. So if you make the effort, I don't have to do it. I'm very lazy, I've already said that. But the result is going to be good for both of us. If not, you'll probably have the problems and the next day phone calls. That was what I was saying, I'm not going to answer you anymore, blah, 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 blah. Sorry for you. If you want to be in the newspaper, you have to pass by my hands, and I'm going to decide what to publish or not. Give the background. I mean, you are not talking to experts, and now being serious, not that we are all silly and lazy, but you think that perhaps if you have specialized in nutrition, you've been for studying medicine in Spain would be 6 years plus 4 years of the residence, and then probably a master somewhere, and after 25 years, you're the greatest specialist in vitamin A. Well, I call you, I've been writing about diabetes yesterday, now I'm asking you about vitamin A, and in 2 hours I'm going to write a piece on Alzheimer. So if you're not able to give me all the information in 10 minutes, I mean, that's something that's going to be lost. The other part, I've already done it. I think, well, what controls do we have? Well, in this case, as I've already mentioned, the magazines are for us the best because it's the safest origin of the information. They have already been peer-reviewed. Usually they work. Institutions, universities, well, university usually, they have this thing that they are supposed to be independent. Most of them aren't, because if they want to investigate, they need funds, and they get them from the companies. That gives the information a bias. That's why that's another reason, probably, Mary, because you find all that positive information being published. Because all that investigation that is behind has been financed by a company or something like that. If we don't have another resource, we'll go to a company, probably to a different company than the one that produced the information, to see what the competence says. If they agree that what you've done is good, it's because what you've done is good. So now imagine if, I don't know, just to put a silly example, no? If Coca-Cola says that drinking 3 liters of Coca-Cola per day is wonderful, what would I do? I go to Pepsi-Cola and ask them. That's a good thing. And then there is the experience, the background. Unfortunately, now in the newspapers, at least in Spain, and I think that in all the Western world, and of course in Europe and in the States too, the newspapers are closing and they are firing people. The case Marianne mentioned before, I think I know who you were thinking about, is what happens. And then it's not only the time writing one day about diabetes and next day about Alzheimer and next day about vitamin A. It is that I'm writing one day about the government, next day about health, and next day about environment, and next day about a traffic crash. So that's something that we are losing. So we'll see how we manage it. And I'm over there, I think, and that's it. So I think I've been just in time and gave you time for the questions, and then comes this moment when I call it, in Spanish I say the pim pam pum, in English we will translate it like the bang bang, is when you all use your time to fire against the journalist, because once, when I talked to a journalist, he never said what I told him and things like that, but this is the moment to do that, and I'll be happy to be there.